Robin Slim Show.
Hello, this is Norma.
Hi, Norma. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for that Twitter. Boy,
Oh.
I have probably 5 different Twitters that came back to me. That's fantastic. I can't appreciate it more. That's wonderful.
The book was amazing. Are we recording, Slim?
Yeah, but I just need to get resituated here.
Now, I sent you an offer that if you want to offer some books out to some of your listeners free, I will be happy to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I passed the book along to a couple of people, and they were all very excited. I told them, you said the book was in Barnes & Noble. Saw it for sale on Amazon and all that.
Yes, it is there, and of course, even the ebook is there. They can get it on their Kindle or on their Nook or whatever.
That's awesome. Now, your book is called Breaking Down the Walls, 50 courageous and successful years at the forefront of the women's movement. And it was just really inspirational. There was a lot of stuff I connected with, and it was great,
Well, that's wonderful. By the way, where are you? I don't know 609.
We are in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
South
great.
Jersey. That's what I thought was cool in your book, too, because you said your father had that chicken farm in,
Yes, he did.
where was that again? Lakewood?
Yeah.
That's
up
not
in that
too.
area.
Yeah, that's not too far from here.
I know. That's quite an area. Yeah.
And how much money should somebody have to start investing with?
What, a business, a chicken farm?
Well, no, with just to buy some stocks. What's a good number to start with?
Well, my advice to people would be to buy a mutual fund, and there you could start with $1,000, and every time you have some spare money, you can keep adding to it, and that gives you the best way for a small investor. Anything else, you don't get the diversification, you won't have the money to keep reinvesting, you have the commissions eat you up alive, and so I recommend to all people that can't start with, a substantial amount of money to diversify a portfolio, should stick to a mutual fund, and there's some very good ones out there. You get one, if you need income, you can get an income fund. If you need growth, you can get a growth fund. And so I certainly recommend that they go with a mutual fund.
Oh, okay.
And you can start with $1,000.
That's good. Did I like too that you said you were a long-term investor, and you said the best time to buy is during a crisis. I thought that was really cool.
Well, it is, because the market goes down, and if you sit patiently and have some stocks that you, even a mutual fund, their portfolio will come down, and you're never going to hit the bottom, and you're never going to sell at the top. Don't expect to be able to do that. So the market takes a drop, a real drop, like it did yesterday, for that matter. It dropped 273 points.
Wow.
That was the time, if you wanted to buy some mutual fund, you can buy a decent mutual fund, and it's substantially lower. But that's not a drop that I mean. I'm talking about one of these terrible drops. The ones that we had several times in my lifetime, where I felt like sitting under the desk and waiting for the avalanche.
I like too when you said that when they hired you, the one company, that they didn't know what to hire a woman for, and I love that you said, why don't you hire me for what you pay the men? And they were like, well, the men have expenses and families, and you said, well, I have the same.
That's exactly right. And, he couldn't figure that out. This is a smart man, the manager of the firm, and he couldn't figure out that I didn't come to work for fun, that I was coming because I had to.
Yeah.
And and I told him, I said, do you expect me to come in part-time? No. Do you expect me to do the same work, same as the other students? Of course. Well, then pay me the same. I have one more expense. I have to hire a wife.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. He says, I never thought of that. I said, you got it. And that's what I tell most people, when I give talks to students that are in the business school, and I will say to them, negotiate your salary up front.
Yeah.
Know what they're going to pay you, and if it's not what everybody else in your job, or maybe they want you to try it out, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you succeed in doing a good job equal to someone else in the firm, you should get the same pay.
Yup, exactly. I completely agree with that. That's amazing. I can't believe that one part. I don't know. I hope I'm not ruining anything. But you said you almost went off a waterfall.
Oh, wow.
How scary was that? Like, I couldn't imagine that. Like,
Well, what happened was my husband decided we should go river rafting. It was my first time. And one of the things that they did when you river raft, they want you to jump off a small cliff. It wasn't very high, but a small cliff.
wow.
So they get used to the water, and you know, so that you're not afraid if for any reason you do fall out of the boat. So we were swimming around, and I had no idea that the water was pulling me towards a waterfall up front. My husband saw that I was going in that direction and kept waving for me to come back, but it was so strong I couldn't do it.
Wow.
So he jumped in the water. He happens to be a lifeguard anyway in his younger days. And he jumped in the water and came rushing out to me to pull me back. I had no way of getting back.
Wow.
I got another story for that river raft I'm going to share with everybody.
Awesome.
Never, never, never put suntan lotion on the back of your legs, because we hit the first bump and I slid right off the raft.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you've lived the life. You've done it all.
I have. I was, but until I married my second husband, I never went anywhere. I didn't have the money for it. I didn't have the knowledge for it, But once we started to move to California and, we started a whole new life together, my husband's a traveler. He loves to travel.
Yeah.
So I started traveling, and we ended up in my life to travel every place in the whole world we ever wanted to go to.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know, there's a place I haven't been to yet. So he's one of those guys. I learned to ski. I learned to scuba dive. I learned to sail. I mean, I learned all these things, not when I was 20 years old, but when I was 40 and 50 and 60.
And that gives me inspiration, too, because, I'm pushing 40, and I'm just, we're just pretty much starting out on this project, and that makes me feel a lot better.
Well, you certainly have to look forward to doing everything that you possibly can. Of course, you have time that you need to do it. You need to do it with some, additional money. And but don't be afraid to do it. Fear is everybody's worst enemy.
Yeah,
The minute
that's
you're
it. It's
afraid,
paralyzing.
You're not successful.
I've been through, some, hard times, and sometimes you're just afraid, and change is scary too. So sometimes just taking that leap, just getting yourself out of that funk, like when you saw that doctor in there, and he helped you out immensely. I thought that was another great part of the book. There's so many
My
great parts.
psychologist, I think that he saved my life. He really did. He gave me the one hand up that I needed to encourage me that I must do for myself, not to wait for others to do for me, because nobody's going to do for you. Everybody has their own problems, know, and they can't do for you. They don't know your insides.
Yeah.
So when he said to me, "Wake up, go out and do for yourself," that gave me the inspiration. I said, "What could I do?" He says, "Well, what do you like to do?" I said, "I like the stock market." He says, "Well, see if you can get in to do something in the stock market, even if you have to be a secretary." I said, "I can't be a secretary. I don't type. I don't type shorthand." So he said, "Well," and then this opening came where they started a training program. For the first time, they accepted a woman.
Yeah.
And since I had to go through all the psychological tests that they give you, I had the aptitude to go to sales. So they hired me. And that, I was shocked myself, to be honest with you. But
Now, did your ex-husband ever fight you? I know you moved to California in the book. I was curious if he ever fought you, on moving, and did he stay in touch, with you, with Elisa, I think it was, your daughter?
yes, I had a daughter and two sons.
Yeah, but they were in school.
They were in school, yes. They were in boarding school, and that
Yeah.
was the best thing for them. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I scooped up Lisa and left because I didn't want to have an argument with him. Do it for yourself. I told you that.
Yeah.
Do it. If he's going to tell me no, that would not be very good. This way I didn't want to hear the no, so I didn't ask the question.
Yeah. Did he
You
keep
know.
a relationship with them over the years, or?
No, my ex-husband married a girl that was from Greece that he met, and he moved to Greece with her. He lived in Greece most of his life after me, and didn't keep in too much touch with his children. Unfortunately, he has since been deceased. But, they didn't see too much of him since he was in Greece, and we were in California. It was not the most convenient, and he really didn't keep too much in touch.
Yeah, well, your husband's name is Larry, correct?
My present husband is Larry.
Yeah, so if he was there, then he provided. That's all that matters. Maybe they're better off if their father didn't care to keep in touch with them.
Well, yes, he was the new father, and he became the father image. And then Larry's two children came out to live with us.
I love that story.
Part of the book.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that the cops actually handcuffed them and everything.
Oh yeah, and dragged them across this plaza. It was terrible because. These are two small children, and they're marching them across the plaza. People were looking at them. It was very sad for them.
Yeah, well, because Slim didn't get through the whole book,
Right.
and what happened was his children would come out to visit for 3 months in the summer.
Okay.
And every time they went back, everyone would be sad. It's kind of like when my boys come. Nobody wants to go back, and the kids went home, and then one day out of the blue, the ex-wife called Larry and was saying, do you know where the kids are? They're not around. So, Norma and Larry were freaking out, making calls. They couldn't contact the kids. And then about an hour later, I think it was, the doorbell rang.
Okay.
And it was the kids.
About 11 o'clock at night.
Wow. The kids, his daughter had saved money from bar mitzvahs and babysitting jobs and actually got somebody to buy them the airline tickets one way and come out there.
Oh, wow. That's
They
pretty cool.
left the mother. Well, the mother wasn't treating them too nicely, and nobody stayed. See, I give the girl credit. She didn't want to stay where she didn't have her fun. She was having fun in California. She was going to school. She had her father who was willing to give her all kinds of things, and the mother was not on board.
Yeah, exactly.
So she picked herself up, took her brother, and got her, as you say, somebody picked up her tickets. And they came to California, 11 o'clock at night. The taxi pulls up. And of course, the mother was frantic. She thought we kidnapped them, but we didn't.
Yeah, and then that's what happened. She came out there, and you had to deal with the lawyers, and when you guys gave them back, I think she said something to the cop, the officer or something, and then they actually handcuffed the kids.
She said they're incorrigible.
That's the word, yeah. And that gives them the right to arrest the minor.
So fortunately, we had our lawyer who went down to the juvenile court and got them out for us. And so long as there was a parent that was willing to take them, we took them. And there's a law on the books which was very interesting, which helped us a lot, that you can't force anybody on a plane or any place to travel.
Yeah.
They don't want to go.
Yeah, that's...
The kids did not want to go. They kept saying, "You want to get on the plane with your mother?" No. So, by law, she could not force them on the plane.
Yeah. I like there's so many parts of this book that are just great. Was your father's cousin, Maddie? Was he the one?
Yes, getting dressed for success. He said. You got to look the part of being successful.
And he
You're
told
selling
you
stocks. There's a lot of money involved. And people don't want to deal with somebody that doesn't look like they're successful.
Yeah, look professional. Now, you said you wear the hat, but do you still wear the brooch?
I have the brooch and the hat.
That's awesome.
I have 3 or 4 hats sitting up in my closet. I can't throw them away. They're just too much memory for me.
Yeah.
And in California, we didn't wear hats. It was too hot. It's too hot up here.
Oh.
But in New York, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I had some of these lovely walking suits that I bought. I called them my uniform, and they were phenomenal. They really looked like I looked like $1 million. If I have to say so myself.
Yeah. And you should feel that way.
Oh yeah, you walk in, you feel that way. You had alligator shoes and gloves and a handbag, and I look good.
Now, I like the part too where the firm was going. We were visiting a social club, and since you were going, everybody had to sit in the ladies' lunchroom instead of
they were so angry about that. Yeah. Well, in New York at that time, ladies were not permitted in the men's clubs. So it was men were supposed to be able to smoke their cigars and speak their dirty language and their jokes and whatever, and they didn't want the ladies there. And so I said, so they said, well, is it possible for Mrs. Well, my name wasn't Yaeger at the time, for Norma to stay home? I said, no way am I staying home. Everybody goes, I go. Well, then everybody's got to sit in the ladies' dining room. So
and you
they
said
were not too happy with me.
no, I can imagine. You said also the New York Stock Exchange didn't have women's rooms back then
Well,
either,
they
right?
didn't have it. They had them in the men's clubs, but they did not have it on the floor of the exchange. They had bathrooms, but only for men. So I said, well, that's fine. Somebody stand outside and wait, and I use the men's room. What's the difference?
That's like I used to work at a printing facility, and they had 2 sets of men's rooms and 2 sets of women's rooms. I never understood it. And one day I asked, and that's because back when segregation went on, they had a black bathroom and a white bathroom.
Oh, so the same problem with the yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think it was ever that way, and not that long ago.
And not that long ago. No, a lot of this is, it's not even 2 generations. It's half a generation ago.
Yeah.
You know, if you remember, my book tells you that the women at that time could not have bank accounts. They could not have stock accounts. They could not have credit cards. All of this was not permitted. The only way they could get is the husband gave them a card, and he had to sign on that he's responsible for her debts. Today, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
I don't ask my husband for my credit card.
I was telling the guys, too, before you said it was taboo for a woman to even say she had to use the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, my mother. Well, that goes back to even the Middle East. And my mother was from Turkey, and the Middle Eastern women were very, very private about their bodies and so on, and they never would say, I have to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So they had to wait to sneak in, during a coffee break. And so, you bring that with you. You'd be surprised you grow up with a lot of these thoughts that you grow up with. And I objected to that. One story I must tell you. When I was a little girl, I had what we call a nonna vieja. Nonna vieja is Spanish for old grandma. I had a great-grandmother who lived to be about 96. But when I was a little girl, she would take my hand and take her to Saturday morning. She would go to the shul, which is a Jewish church, like. Okay. And they segregated men and women. And even as a little girl, I became upset with that. I said, Nonna Vieja, why do you have the separation of men and women? He says, darling, that's the way it is. It's the custom, and we observe. So I grew up with this idea that they separated men and women all the way back, and I objected to it. Bothered me right then and there, and I was a little girl at that time, possibly 6 or 7 years old. And even at that time, it was the wrong thing.
Yeah.
To do that and to put people together. They went there to pray. They're praying to God. Does it matter whether you sit in this seat or that seat?
Exactly.
I mean, the women had to sit upstairs. They couldn't even sit down below. They're not allowed to sit with the men.
Wow. Did you ever encounter any bad sexism at the workplace? Did any guys ever try anything with you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You're other men, of course. You get some nasty remarks. You get some jokes being told that are off color. You get some. They try to come on to you. You know how it is.
Yeah, that's like the show. That's pretty much what we do. But we just do it to each other.
We come on to each other.
And I wanted to ask too. What was the the most exciting investment you ever made? Like the coolest stock or anything like that?
Oh, I also opened 2 companies.
Yeah.
The most exciting thing for me was opening my company,
Yeah.
It was wonderful to be able to be out on my own. It took a lot of courage, and again, if I said to my husband, I'm really frightened to do this, but I left the firm because if you read the story about that thing that happened to me with Drexel Burnham,
Yeah.
and I said, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to start my own firm and be my own boss and so on. And I started that all by myself. So that was a big step forward.
Yeah.
To move and to get registered and licensed, and told all my clients I was opening my own firm. And you know what? I lost very few clients. They all agreed to come with me, which I thought was a good feather in my hat.
That's awesome. I like, too, how you always dealt, with rejection or problems, like when you dealt with the clients that rejected you, where you called them back at a later time when they had turned down a stock, and you told them, how it turned out. And also with the money market fund, when you were trying to get that business going, and the banks ended up have stolen your your idea,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
it never discouraged you. You just kept going. It was amazing.
Well, again, you've got to move forward, and if something fails, it only makes you stronger. You know what to avoid, and you learn. You learn from failure.
Yeah.
Not saying that everybody should do something and try to fail to learn, but if you do fail, it's not the end of the world. Try again.
I think too many people just give up. Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I did have Larry, behind me. He was supportive. He encouraged me. He said, "You can do it. Don't worry. You can do it." And we did. We managed to come out here cold. He had to start a whole new practice here himself, and to build a practice. And then we ended up with 2 families that we had to support through schools and colleges and so on. And between us, we did okay.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we did okay. And today I'm retired and looking forward to some more travel.
Yeah.
I actually had a question about the travel. You said you've been just about everywhere. Where's your favorite place that you've been to?
It's really, I've been to so many different places. I could tell you several that I loved. I loved Italy. We took it when I retired. We treated ourselves to a 6-week vacation to Italy. We drove through Italy by car. We stopped at the small towns and we ate in the small cafes, and it was lovely. So that was one of my favorite trips, driving through a country. You meet the people, you eat the food. That's a wonderful way to learn about people. Italy was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go there.
Italy's definitely cool. I went there when I was like 19. I got to see the. I really liked seeing the ancient ruins, the Roman
the
stuff
Colosseum and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
It's great too that it's still standing. It's like it was so good that it's still there.
I also enjoyed the vineyards. I thought that was wonderful. The wine tasting and going through the vineyards of northern Italy was fantastic. So, there's so much to see, and it's a big country, so you go north and then you start to head south, and it changes, keeps changing. And so and then we went from there, we drove through the mountain range, and we ended up in Germany for the Oktoberfest.
Oh,
so that was the end.
Those have been a lot of fun. I've always wanted to go to Oktoberfest.
It was a great 6 weeks. We had never taken more than a one week or 10-day vacation because, he was in practice, I was in business. It was very hard to do. But since I retired, we treated ourselves to a beautiful trip. So that was that's the favorite, really. I also liked Antarctica. Believe it or not, I didn't want to go. But my husband says, "Well, let's go." I said, "Well, okay. If you want to go, we'll go." And I loved it. I really did.
That's awesome.
That was a great trip. So there were so many different trips. We went to Australia, which was wonderful.
That sounds awesome.
New Zealand was wonderful. I mean, there's so many wonderful places. There is no favorite. Every place was wonderful.
Now, what about the reverse of that? Like, have you ever been to a place where you were scared for your life, or anywhere where it was a very scary place to be?
I wasn't scared. I went to a place on a river boat that I was very uncomfortable with. I did not enjoy that. But, they're not all going to be perfect. I really wouldn't recommend that to people that don't like close quarters. They're very small, they're close, and they're not comfortable. For example, you park on a river next to the coast, next to the shore, and from there you have to hike up to the town. Well, that's all well and good, but when I took it, I was not in the position physically to walk up to the town. They had no accommodations to take anybody of the passengers on a taxi, on a bus, on a car, anywhere.
Wow.
So it was not the most... I like luxury, I guess.
Yeah.
It was not very luxurious. It was not my favorite trip, but most of the trips that we took, or I should say all of them, were wonderful.
That's awesome.
Okay, Norma. Well, it was actually really great talking to you. We're going to have to let you go, but why don't you tell the people where they can find all your stuff before we do?
Well, Breaking Down the Walls are sold at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and I have offered Rob that if about 10 of his listeners call in, I'd be happy to send them a book gratis. And I have a website, so we'll tell you more about me and about the times that I went through. And it's www.normayaeger.com, and Yaeger is spelled Y-A-E-G-E-R. That's important because they're spelled several ways. You have to do Y, like yellow, A-E-G-E-R. Norma is the first name, .com, and that'll give you a feel for the book. And Rob is recommending it, so I guess you all will like it as well.
Thank you so much, Norma. That was an amazing interview. The book's amazing. Thank you so much.
Would I be able to get a podcast?
Well, I was going to say, maybe sometime we could have you on again, do another interview.
I'd love that, but I'm talking about a copy of this interview.
Oh, of this? Yes, definitely. We will post the whole thing up on a site called SoundCloud, and then Slim also breaks down the individual interviews and puts them on YouTube. So when that goes up in
give me like about two days or so, and when I have the link up, I'll email it to you.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you, Slim. I didn't talk to you too much, but I guess you read the book as well?
No, that's why I haven't been saying too much because I hadn't gotten around to reading it. Plus, my mother just walked into the house drunk, so I was kind of dealing with stuff with that too.
Yeah,
we're recording out of my living room, so.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, when you get a chance, read it. I think you'll find it interesting.
I did enjoy the.
Thank you very much for this time, and thank you for your Twitter recommendation. That was fantastic.
Thank you,
I
Norma.
really appreciate you guys.
Oh, I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Nice.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice. This cat.
What did the cat do?
Cat's claw.
The cat's
It's stuck
crazy.
in my sleeve, man.
He doesn't attack me. He loves me. He just doesn't like you because he knows you don't like him.
Oh, that's a
Come
cat.
on, cat.
What the?
This is your fault. Why you did this?
We gotta cut his nails. His nails are too sharp.
Oh.
From what I heard, it was a great interview, but I was too busy with my mother.
It
like,
was amazing, and I was just hoping. I thought she was going to derail it. That's why I passed you the note. I was hoping her mic was off at least.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was
Ricky
about to
had
shut it off.
He
And
heard something, and I told
Can
him.
you get his paw?
yeah, I'll get him. Hold on.
This is this is ridiculous.
This is amazing.
Oh.
There you
Fucker. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a break. We'll be
Take
back
a
in like
quick
5
break.
minutes.
Probably sooner because Xander.
Oh, we got Xander.
Is probably going to be calling.
And then Sadie's
in
after
a few
that.
minutes. Yeah. So that should be fun. Stay tuned.
Now I'm going to brew myself a cup of coffee.
Why? What happened to the other cup of coffee?
Well, your mom asked for one, and then there was no milk. Apparently, the milk had turned, and she just dumped the.
Yeah, I didn't use any milk. I just put sugar in mine.
I just do black. I don't put cream or anything.